on the edge of the bridge where this riot was taking place. And an interesting thing in Copenhagen, there is a gang, a pretty lethal gang, sort of, I guess, equivalent to Hell's Angels here in this country. And they call themselves the Black Hoodies. And what they do is they wear a sweatshirt, black sweatshirts with a hood, and baggy black pants and black shoes, and everything's black. And they wear these masks across their face, black masks like this. And they are in the process of passing a law in Denmark outlawing wearing those masks, because these people murder people. They're really very dangerous and bad people. So they don't want them to be able to disguise their faces. At any rate, these are not the Black Hoodies. These are just people. And a couple of them were from England. They were British kids. You'll see them in a minute. But they started putting scarves up. This scarf's not even black. But the cops got really angry when that happened. And they opened the back door of those trucks, and the dogs came out, and things got a little dicey. Next slide, Bill. And this was in the Parliament Square. This is where the big march, 100,000 people congregated here and marched 5 kilometers down to the Bella Center. And that was a Saturday, wasn't it? It was hard to
The
remember.
11th, I think.
Yeah. And it was really a cold day, and it was really interesting. The further you moved down the street, people were flooding in from the side streets, and the crowd got bigger and bigger and bigger as you got down there. And we got to the Bella Center, it was wall-to-wall people, and I was probably 3 blocks back and couldn't, that was as far as you could get. Next one. This is just more shots of the crowd building up and moving. Next one, Bill. Did you see these, Robin? They were called, what do they call them, life bubbles?
I don't know what they were called.
They were so funny. It looks like a bunch of elephant butts going down the street. Next one. This is what it looks like from the front. And the gist was, is when climate change gets so bad, you're going to have to live inside of one of these because it'd be too hostile outside. And believe it or not, I got an email when I got home that they were willing to give these suits to anybody that wanted them for free.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's take another great parade.
Yeah. Next. Here we have polar bears. Next. Just signs of a lot of different countries. At one point in March, I got caught up with a bunch of people from Australia, and they were probably the most angry. In fact, I heard when they went home, they really turned the country upside down when they got back. But next, just some more scenes with banners and so forth. Next one. And this is basically what angered everybody. Hillary came in on Thursday, and I won't read this, you can read it, but it was stated that she sort of handed down an ultimatum that they would contribute to the $100 billion package as long as the Southern Hemisphere countries went along with the way they wanted to do it. And so those guys walked. They said, we don't want an ultimatum. And Robin's probably going to talk more about this following me, so I won't go into depth on it. I'll let you do that. But the feeling was the deal was a U.S. blackmail, and that's what really sort of got people geared up out on the street. You want to do the next one? And pardon me. Basically, everybody was really disappointed that the target was to try to keep the temperature from going up another 2 degrees Celsius, and they felt that was a pretty weak commitment, and there was nothing binding. Nobody really agreed to do anything real about it. You want to do the next slide? One of the things that I like to point out, and this is why climate change is urgent, and it's why it's the magnitude is pretty bad. But we pump 70 million tons of CO2 in the atmosphere every 24 hours, and that's global. That's the world in general. And right now, CO2 is at 387 parts per million. A lot of people don't really relate to these numbers very well, but for about 2 million years, CO2 never went above 280 parts per million. So right now we're 107 parts per million higher than any time since humans have been in existence. So we have really raised CO2 level by a huge, significant amount. And we know from prehistory that there have been times when CO2 was around 450 and the Earth suffered some mass extinctions. Pre-Cambrian time was one of them.
What's that rate? 2 parts per million, is that per year?
Yeah, it goes up 2 parts. It's actually accelerated more than that now. It's like 2.73, so it's almost 3 parts per million. It is accelerating.
What
Did
kind
you
of a
say per
percentage?
year?
What kind of a percentage does 107 over 200 represent? It's about 100%, 50% more than it should be, 60%.
Yeah.
So if you say it that way, maybe that kind of will hit people more, because 100 points doesn't mean anything to most of us.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. We're always struggling, looking for a way to get that to register with people, how serious that was. Somebody else had a question back here too.
Sorry,
That's all right. No.
female.
Next slide, please.
All right.
This is things really started heating up. This is on the ramp to the Bella Center, and as you can see, there's batons out at this point. This guy's getting whacked on the head pretty good. I'm not sure. I wasn't at this event. I didn't take this photograph, but I heard that in certain parts of the city, the police were starting to really lose their cool. In other parts of the city, the police were pretty well behaved. I didn't have a problem with the police myself at all. Next slide. Climate change kills. There's another good sign. Next. Flip through some more. This is just all the stuff on the street that was happening. I got to tell you a little, digress here a little bit. When I was walking, the people that hosted me for the week came on this march with me. They were really a wonderful family. And it was really cold out. And Jana, the wife of the family, was shivering and really cold and couldn't get warm. And we were going over this bridge over a canal, and I looked down the water line on the canal, and the sun is just sort of like sitting on the surface of the water down there. And I told Yetta, I said, when the sun gets up here and shines down, I said, we'll get a little bit warmer. She looked at me and she said, honey, the sun's going down. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. Next. Now this is really interesting, Robin. I don't know if you paid attention to this. Jan actually pointed this out to me. I walked right by and it just went over my head. But in this 5-kilometer walk, the only very heavy police presence was in front of McDonald's, next, and in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken. To American Enterprises. There were no cops in front of any store the whole way down the street. Next. Of course, Big Brother was watching. Next. Let's just do next. Next. One of the things Yes Magazine asked me to do was get pictures of art, any kind of protest art and so forth. And this girl, she looked great. So, and they used it. Go ahead, Bill. Next. I didn't do all work when I was over there. Jan took me out to this castle. This is Frederiksborg Castle. It's over 500 years old. It was really amazing to walk on. I showed this to my kids, and I told them, I said, there is nothing on the north or the southern hemisphere, North American or South American hemisphere, as old as that. A human structure is that old. And it was really a thrill to stand there. Next.
So that was built about 1500?
Yeah.
You mean an occupied human structure?
And Jan and I had fun too. This was the night after my presentation at the Cleveland Report.
Yeah.
And we sat at a table with these British guys that all work for the UN, and they're the ones that took the picture. And Jan and I were the only ones that walked out of there. I never saw people so drunk before. But that's it. That's it. If you want to cut it off, that's the end of mine. I'm going to let Robin get up. She's going to talk more about the specifics of the negotiations and so forth.